Hi everyone. Eat, Finny, eat. Tell here. The internet's biggest music nerd. And it's time for a review of this new Future album. Future, self-titled. I'm still not 100% right now. Excuse me for that. Future is an Atlanta rapper, singer, auto-tune addict. And this is At this point, it's been 2 years since the release of Future's most definitive project yet, DS2. An album that is my favorite of his thus far, kind of a spacey, intoxicating experience, an album that tries to capture the essence of being high out of your mind on lean in song. And on that front, I think this album succeeded. Future typically brings a very strong vibe, a very stylish aesthetic on a track, on an album. That's nothing new. The issue with this new LP, though, is that Future's weaknesses also continue uninterrupted on this project, too. The lackluster song structures, which are pretty uninspired, pretty redundant a lot of the time, non-existent. The lack of versatility and variety across the album, lyrically, sonically, melodically. Then there are all the effortless flows that just stream out of Future's mouth as if he's not thinking about any of it. They sound really stale, like they could be left over from any number of projects that he released in the past or could have released in the past. Some of which get really old, really fast. But Future doesn't even seem like he's trying to write anything refreshing or remotely career-defining with this album, because at this point, he knows how this works. If Future fans on the song Draco don't like the goofy, mirrored-sounding synthesizers bouncing off of one another in the beat, or, the flow that he drops on parts like Rat-a-tat got a little kickback, then most likely something else on the album will, because Future has delivered an hour of material on this thing. It's likely you will find at least a few tracks that slap. It's like as he's putting this stuff together, he's fully aware of how repetitive and replaceable and unmemorable and non-essential all of this really is. At this point, it's kind of hard for me to even think of Future as a human being who's putting individual cogent thought into a song, into an album. Considering his virtually unchanged flow and lyrical style, and his warbly, robotic vocals, great. Also considering Future's very warbly, robotic, auto-tune vocals, which sound almost the same on every single track, I'd be more willing to believe at this point that he's a computer program that just randomly generates songs with the same 5 to 6 variables, which you can make subtle adjustments to again and again and again with each new track. There were a couple moments on this album that stuck out to me as maybe taking a little bit of a risk or having a human touch to it. The song When I Was Broke, which features Future more singing than rapping, and it's more of the introspective side of Future when you read into the lyrics as he kind of, goes into a bit of a thing about when he doesn't have money. The song Feds Did a Sweep is also a very emotional, sad, and kind of sparse closer to the album. I also love the very airy and beautiful woodwinds that are sampled throughout the track Mask Off, though I guess my attraction to that track has more to do with the instrumental than anything Future does on top of the instrumental. Also kind of the case for the song Rent Money. I love how hard the beat on this thing bangs. I think it's a great kick off to the album. And some of the lines on here about Future getting this dude's girl to sleep with him because the rent money's due. I don't know. Listening to the album, I think it's kind of funny, but actually reciting the scenario out now in front of the camera, it's actually kind of depressing. The song Super Trapper is a very grimy, dark, kind of nocturnal trap anthem that I thought was pretty good. And Poppin' Tags goes hard as fuck. That is me trying my hardest to compliment this album. Because even the spots on this thing that I like, I feel like I'm still kind of listening to something that I've heard Future do before. Just with some subtle tweaks here and there to keep him from literally rewriting the same song. Because truth be told, at this point, on this self-titled album, Future is unbearably formulaic, which is par of the course for a lot of his Atlanta contemporaries, whether it be Young Thug or Migos. But each of their most recent commercial outings have been their most adventurous albums yet. So what's Future's excuse? Even Migos were trying like a couple new things. The biggest change of pace this album offers are the really bad, trashy, barely funny radio sketches that are all over this record, where you have like a really nasty radio host who's like, hosting a podcast and giving out, I guess, prizes to listeners. They're calling in or they're contacting him or something. I don't know how, but they sound like they're in the studio with him. Kind of seems like an oversight on the production side of things. You know, this thing is passable. It has the bare bones elements that make a future release listenable, make it decent as like background music. But after listening to this thing, I don't know. I'm not sure if there's a more uninspired rapper walking the planet than Future right now. Because with every new release he drops, whether it be something potentially career-defining like this as he self-titles it, or even a release like, you know, with Drake, What a Time to Be Alive. You know, it seems like there'd be no better opportunity to, you know, kind of get yourself out of your comfort zone. With every new release he drops, he just folds his arms and he says, I'm gonna do the same thing I always do. I'm pretty indifferent toward this thing. I'm feeling a light to decent 5 on this. One more thing. Future is not lyrical. This album is not lyrical. Don't pretend like it's lyrical. I mean, sure, Future may reveal some of the gritty realities of the lifestyle that he raps about. You know, it's not all money and women and all that stuff. You know, there are obviously some lows that complement those highs. But you know, he's not fucking lyrical. Whatever grim realities he is exposing, he's not, you know, really putting it out there for all to see. Nobody's paying attention. You know, nobody listens to a Future song for the lyrics. Seems like a gross mischaracterization of how people consume Future's music to sort of go into the song being like, oh man, he really says some real shit on this track. It's really not how it goes down. So while he may try here and there to say a thing and be a little emotional, it's really not one of his strengths. It's really not a selling point of his music. It's just a window dressing attempt to give the listener the impression that, oh, he's a multifaceted guy, man. You know, he's got different sides to him, dude. When in reality, it's very apparent how shallow Future is. I mean, how deep could he be? He tries to write the same song over and over and over. That being said, Charan! And those are my thoughts on this new Future album. Future? What did you think of this album? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Future, links next to my head. Subscribe to the channel, official website too. You're the best. Stay hydrated, eat your fruits and veggies, don't get sick. Forever.